Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 biopics that are completely inaccurate.
Why do you hang back? Hurry!
For this list, we'll be looking at the worst offenders of erroneous and largely fabricated films that have been inspired by or claim to be based on non-fictional or historical people. What do you make of fictionalizing real events? Let us know in the comments below. Number 10. The Imitation Game. This was a widely lauded film that received 8 Oscar nominations, including Best Actor for Benedict Cumberbatch.
I like solving problems, Commander. And Enigma is the most difficult problem in the world.
He plays Alan Turing, a notable computer scientist who helped break German codes during World War II. While a great film, it is nevertheless filled with historical inaccuracies. Various events are completely warped for the purposes of drama, like the naming of the machine Christopher after Turing's childhood friend. Furthermore, the general portrayal of Turing was off. By all accounts, the scientist was personable and sociable, not cold and awkward.
Then you're going to need all the help you can get. And they are not going to help you if they do not like you.
Friends also noted that the chemical castration had little effect on his personality or mental capabilities, and the method of his death is still hotly debated, despite the film's confident epilogue.
Sometimes it is the people who no one imagines anything of, who do the things that no one can imagine.
Number 9. The Doors. This iconic rock band certainly deserves their own movie, but it wasn't this movie.
Come on, man.
I'm not doing acid, man. I'm not doing acid.
Hey, what's a rock and roll band for?
Val Kilmer shines as Jim Morrison, but The Doors is so wildly inaccurate that it earned ire from the very people it represents. Many people, including director Oliver Stone, have admitted that storytelling took precedence over accuracy. Many things are fabricated or exaggerated, most notably Morrison's violent behavior and his troubles with alcohol.
What do your parents think about what you're doing?
Actually, I don't remember being born. It must have happened during one of my blackouts.
In fact, Morrison's portrayal is often the primary criticism leveled at the movie. All the surviving Doors members spoke out and defended Morrison, claiming that he was very little or even nothing like the character depicted in Stone's movie. As drummer John Densmore beautifully puts it, The Doors is about the myth of Jim Morrison, not the man himself.
I believe in a long, prolonged derangement of the senses to attain the unknown. Oh, I live in the subconscious.
Number 8. American Sniper. The titular American Sniper is Chris Kyle, a Navy SEAL with over 150 confirmed kills.
Well, then you know who you are. You know your purpose.
Following his honorable discharge, Kyle penned his memoir, American Sniper, the autobiography of the most lethal sniper in U.S. military history, which was subsequently adapted by Clint Eastwood. Unfortunately, both the movie and the book are said to be filled with untruths.
You ever think about what happens when there's a real person on the end of that gun?
I don't know. I just hope I can do my job when that day comes.
Kyle's memoir was criticized for its supposed embellishments, and many of his claims could not be properly substantiated. Eastwood further clouds the already murky history and adds many dramatic falsehoods, like the opening scene involving Kyle and a child, a fictional terrorist, and the wild exaggeration of Syrian sniper Mustafa.
You said AQI has a sniper in the Olympics, but Iraq hasn't qualified a shooter in 3 games.
Well, that's because Mustafa's not Iraqi.
Number 7. Marie Antoinette. Director Sofia Coppola would be the first to admit that Marie Antoinette plays fast and loose with history.
You are not what was desired, but you are no less dear to me.
The movie is intentionally stylized, and Coppola did not set out to create an esteemed period drama. Regardless, the movie received criticism for its perceived shallow character work and complete disregard for history.
Letting everyone down would be my greatest unhappiness.
Marie Antoinette is filled to the brim with anachronisms, errors in both time and geography, and inaccurate character work, like the child of the childless Louis XVIII. The film also disregards much of the politics of the time, which is a bizarre decision for a story about Marie Antoinette. It's certainly a stylish movie, but you'll have to look elsewhere for an academic foray into the Queen's life.
Can't you do something?
I'm not going to acknowledge it.
Number 6. Alexander. Oliver Stone may be a talented director, but his focus is usually placed on story over history. Alexander the Great led a fascinating life that is ready-made for a good movie.
But in his short life, he achieved, without doubt, the mythic glory of his ancestor, Achilles.
But not only is Stone's Alexander inaccurate, it's not very good and maybe even a little harmful. Historians have argued that Alexander is very Orientalist and that it depicts the Persians in a borderline racist light.
Come, Alexander, we're still not really sure if it was Persian gold behind the assassination.
For example, they did not wear turbans. We don't know if they had uniforms, and they didn't have Arabic words in their language at the time. Stone was also forced to condense many events and battles for the sake of brevity, resulting in a slew of wonky historical details. Even at 3 hours, Alexander isn't long enough to accurately depict the life of a near mythical figure.
His tragedy was one of increasing loneliness and impatience with those who could not understand.
Number 5. Patch Adams. Many people like Patch Adams, but critics did not. They took issue with the movie's manipulative sentimentality and the characterization of the title character.
They can't prevent me from graduating because of a personality clash, can they?
Look, Hunter, this is a medical institution you're dealing with. You know, they draw their own law.
And it wasn't just critics who hated it. Patch Adams himself was not a fan. While he ultimately admitted to liking the performance of Robin Williams, he nevertheless took enormous issue with the movie's simplistic depiction of his character and charitable work.
At what point in history did a doctor become more than a trusted and learned friend who visited and treated the ill?
It prioritized schmaltzy, feel-good tenderness over realism, making Adams look like a little more of a goofy clown who entertains sick children. This was often a problem when Robin Williams played real people, as the Robin Williams-ness of it all could overshadow the more complex story hidden underneath.
You carry with you a flame, which one could only hope would spread through the medical profession like a brush fire.
Number 4. Amadeus. It's often the most larger-than-life figures who get the most inaccurate biopics.
This was a music I'd never heard. Filled with such longing, such unfulfillable longing.
While a fantastic movie, Amadeus is not an accurate representation of the iconic composer. It works as a film, but let's not show it in history class. The basic premise of the movie is completely made up, as Mozart and Antonio Salieri were not bitter enemies.
Because you choose for your instrument a boastful, lustful, smutty, infantile boy.
The rumor only spread after Mozart's death and later gained traction in Alexander Pushkin's play Mozart and Salieri. The characterization of Salieri as a lonely celibate is also totally fictional. Aside from the character work, the movie is also filled with errors and anachronisms. For example, Mozart was not buried in a mass grave, and he does not conduct the orchestra the way they would have in the 18th century. Number 3. A Beautiful Mind. Russell Crowe received an Oscar nomination for playing John Nash, a Nobel-winning mathematician who suffered from schizophrenia.
The people, the places, the moments, most important to you, we're not gone, not dead, but worse, they've never been.
A Beautiful Mind works as a tender movie and accurately depicts the general theme of Nash's life and accomplishments. But it is not an accurate portrayal of his day-to-day experiences. His mental illness is exaggerated to a degree, with movie Nash suffering from visual hallucinations and conjuring up imaginary people.
Forgive me, I'm just always suspicious of new people.
See you next week.
I'll see you next week. So now that I know that you're real, who are you and what can I do for you?
The real Nash never experienced this symptom. Furthermore, Nash's character is blunted to a degree, making him more sympathetic and ironing over his more problematic behavior. Finally, the feel-good ending is completely fictional, as Nash's acceptance speech was made up for the movie.
My quest has taken me through the physical, the metaphysical, the delusional, and back.
Number 2. Bravehearts. A good historian could write a book about the historical inaccuracies of Braveheart.
I am William Wallace. And I see a whole army of my countrymen here in defiance of tyranny.
When it comes to misportraying history for the sake of telling a story, Braveheart reigns supreme. In fact, it's probably easier to say what the movie got right than going through the exhaustive list of what it got wrong. Writer Randall Wallace has admitted that he took more inspiration from an epic poem than he did history, and that certainly comes through in the film.
Your title gives you claim to the throne of our country, but men don't follow titles. They follow courage.
Fake legal rights, anachronisms, inaccurate portrayals of real people, bad military history, it's all present and accounted for. Even its depiction of William Wallace is false, glossing over his violent use of conscription and completely rewriting his upbringing. Freedom indeed. Freedom from any sort of notable realism.
They fought like warrior poets. They fought like Scotsmen. And won their freedom.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Catch Me If You Can. Throughout Catch Me If You Can, we watch an endless fascination as Frank Abagnale enacts various cons.
I'm sure they can cash your check at the airport. The airport? Who cashes checks at the airport? Well, the airline, sir. They've always taken care of their own.
But we were the targets of the greatest con of all. The movie is based on Abagnale's book of the same name, whose veracity was questioned before it was even published. Investigations have shown that Abagnale either greatly exaggerated his exploits or simply made them up. Journalists have discredited numerous aspects of the story, including Abagnale's work with the FBI and passing the bar exam.
How did you cheat on the bar exam in Louisiana?
I didn't cheat.
In fact, Abagnale was in prison when some of the events of the story supposedly took place. He conned publishers and filmmakers into thinking that this story was true and likely made millions along the way.
The rest of us really are suckers.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.